Hey guys, little QI update. This is the anti-alchemist guide, and I just wanted to follow up on some questions that I got last season. Question number one was alchemist, and I went back through and crunched the numbers again just to see if I missed something, but the alchemist does not add up. Mathematically, it does not add up. So at this point, this is Tuesday night, so we're on difficulty level 6. This is the evening collection. Mathematically, my bakeries, the four of them that I have, are generating a third of a million apiece. So 1.2 million for the four, and I'm getting that benefit from the multitude of breweries. Obviously, that is not lost on me. I do understand that. But in order to generate that many supplies from alchemist groups, you would need about 25 of them, 23 to 25, somewhere in there, depending on your main city supply boost. And at that point, the real issue becomes population to sustain that. So I have a surplus of population, obviously, but breweries are cheap, right? Breweries cost 38 on population. Cost 30 people. Right? Alchemist costs 60. So the amount of population that I would need would reduce the footprint available to me for the purpose of supply production. The other disadvantage with Alchemist is that it costs supplies and alloy um, to plant in the first place, and the whole purpose of planting them is to generate supplies and alloy, right? But four bakers only cost me 4,000 in alloy, right? But if I did that with Alchemist, I would have spent 2,000 or 5,000 alloy, excuse me, and generating a third as much per collection. In terms of expansions, this is the first season of the new championship. So we just started this championship, right? First season of the new championship. In terms of expansions, I started off with 400 shards this season, since that's what everyone starts the season with. I didn't supplement that with diamonds or anything. I have not bought actions. You guys know how I roll. So I didn't buy additional expansions like I normally would. So that was one of the things that I actually wanted to test in this season, was how many expansions I can realistically start with at the beginning of a championship. Because mid-season, if you have 1,400 shards stockpiled, it's pretty easy to buy a bunch of expansions. But I kind of wanted to test what I was able to do at the beginning of the championship, so I stopped at the 250 shard mark, did not buy the 300 or the 350. Still have two more goods expansions to go, and I'll probably grab the 580 at least. Don't think I'll grab the 700. Built a military building this morning, or last night actually, I guess, because I didn't rush it, so I was able to print a few of them this morning, and then save my entire collection. Basically this round just to generate troops, and then soon I'll start transitioning into the end game with doctors and stuff. I don't think I'm going to do it in this collection though, but plenty of alloy to get that rolling. I do want to use up my supplies though on troops and expansions before I transition into that. So that's pretty much it. Just some follow up thoughts on the anti-alchemist. The math really does not support the alchemist in any capacity. Mathematically, it just does not add up. What I'm doing right now is generating several times more in supply as well as alloy. Like, I have breweries planted for the purpose of collection, but after collection is done, these are getting replaced with houses, right? We're going to delete all this and replace it back with houses. So I'm generating more alloy and more supplies than any combination of alchemists that you can possibly configure. And the difference is it doesn't cost supply and alloy to set up that configuration. That's the biggest difference. So I'm going to stick to my guns on the anti-alchemist. In terms of expansions, there were some really good questions on the last series that I did. There were some good questions about why use multiple goods buildings, how many expansions is actually justified, things like that. So I want to explore that a little bit more in some other videos maybe. I've done some math on that, but I don't really want to get into that on this video. It's a really good question though. For this video, I'm just going to lay it to rest. The Alchemist is not worth playing in any configuration, no matter how you play. I mean, at this point, the only reason why I sustain my development after this point, I have enough alloy as well as supplies to turn most of my city into doctors at this point, and the only reason I continue developing beyond this is that my main city attack stats are really not that great. I'm a cheap player. Like, I've said that before in videos, but I want to emphasize that I'm a cheap player. right? And like I don't get 1% prizes, so I do need to build up my development to the point where I can plant some decorations. And for the benefit of my team, I actually try to plant the nautical statues, so I can either cover blue or red, since my main city stats are equally sucky on both colors. So if I am going to add boost, I try to add something that can benefit both sides of the team. So if we're hung up on a boss node or whatever, blue or red, I'll be able to clear it so that other people can get to the infinite nodes. That's kind of my philosophy on that. But at this point, I mean, if I just wanted to hit nodes, I would be able to turn this into doctors and add a couple statues and call it a wrap, you know. So I'm going to stick to my guns on that. The alchemist does not ramp up nearly as fast as this. I think that's it for this video. I think I addressed those questions, but I wanted to kind of test it out myself. Beginning of the championship, so I only started with 500, right? And it's easy to jump into a big development if you start with 1400, but what can you do when you start with 500? Well, I've already made most of that back, and I've rushed my 4 bakers, obviously. I've rushed my goods productions along the way. My next obstacle removal was 90, so I've spent some shards on removing the previous obstacles, you know, and already back up to 450. So that's what you can do with a 500 shard budget, which everyone starts with, and it's nice if you have more, but it's not mandatory to the system. So hopefully this is helpful. I do want to explore the expansion idea. One of the Diana something, she commented on my last video and brought up some really good questions about expansions. So I do want to get into that, but that's not the purpose of today's video. Today's video is just to say, without a doubt, the Alchemist is not worth playing. Cheers, guys. I'll talk to you later.